This story takes place in a small, cozy apartment in New York City. It's quiet inside, the faint ticking of a clock blending with the distant hum of the bustling city. An elderly grandmother sits at her dining table, sipping tea, her hands wrapped around the cup for warmth. Suddenly the door opens. Her 22-year-old grandson, Daniel, walks in. His shoulders are slouched, his face pale, and his eyes filled with unshed tears. He says nothing as he moves toward his grandmother. Without warning, he collapses to his knees, resting his head on her lap. His tears flow freely, soaking the fabric of her dress. "Daniel," the grandmother says gently, placing a comforting hand on his back. "What's wrong, my dear boy?" Through muffled sobs, Daniel responds, his voice trembling. "I can't do it anymore, Grandma. I just can't." The grandmother doesn't speak immediately. She strokes his hair softly, letting him take his time. Finally, Daniel lifts his head, his voice breaking as he speaks. "I feel like I'm falling apart," he says, his eyes avoiding hers. "When I was a kid, life seemed so simple. It even felt beautiful sometimes. But now I feel lost, like I'm running in circles and getting nowhere." He pauses, his breathing uneven before continuing. "Everything I try ends in failure. I can't seem to find a job that matters. My dreams feel so far away. Relationships? I've given up on those. My health is a mess and I couldn't even finish my studies. I don't know why I keep trying anymore." The grandmother listens quietly, her wise eyes filled with understanding. After a moment, she places her hand gently over his and speaks in a calm but steady voice. "Daniel," she begins, "your heart is heavy, I can see that. But let me tell you something. I've lived a long life, and I've carried my share of burdens too." She gazes out the window, her voice soft yet filled with strength. "There was a time when I thought I'd never smile again." Her words hang in the air, and then she begins to share her story. The grandmother tells Daniel about her youth, about a time when the world seemed even harsher than it does now. "I was just a teenager when the war came and took my father away. Overnight, I became the anchor of my family, taking care of my siblings when all I wanted was to be a carefree girl," she says, her voice tinged with sadness. The scene she paints shifts, growing even darker. "Then years later, I lost the love of my life, your grandfather. He was my partner, my everything. Losing him felt like losing a part of myself." Her tone grows softer, more reflective. "But life wasn't done testing me yet. I had to raise your mother alone, working long hours in a factory. My hands were blistered, my nights were long, and my tears often felt endless. I thought I'd never see happiness again." She pauses, allowing her words to sink in, before continuing with a glimmer of hope in her voice. "But do you know what kept me going, Daniel? It wasn't the hope of a perfect life. It was the small, quiet moments, the little joys life offers us if we're willing to see them." She gestures toward the window, where the branches of a tree sway gently in the wind. "The sound of your mother's laughter as a little girl, the way the sky looks after a storm, the kindness of strangers when I had nothing. Those moments reminded me that even in the darkest times, there's light to be found." The grandmother looks back at Daniel, her eyes steady and kind. "Life doesn't owe us perfection, my boy," she says gently. "It offers us moments, small, fleeting gifts, and it's in those moments that we find the strength to carry on." Daniel listens intently, his tears slowing as her words settle in his heart. She places her hand over his and continues. "Failure isn't your enemy, Daniel. It's your teacher. Every time you stumble, you learn something new, about yourself, about life. Success isn't measured by how much you achieve, but by how you keep going despite the setbacks." She smiles softly, her voice warm and filled with love. "You're not done, Daniel. You're just beginning to understand what it means to live." For the first time, Daniel lifts his head. His eyes, though still glistening with tears, hold a flicker of hope. The grandmother gives his hand a gentle squeeze and offers one final piece of wisdom. "Life isn't about avoiding storms, my dear. It's about learning to dance in the rain. You don't need to conquer the world to be happy. Just live, moment by moment, and find beauty in the journey, no matter how uncertain it may seem. Failures shape us, but resilience defines us. The true purpose of life isn't found in perfection. It's found in the courage to keep going. I hope you love this story. Subscribe our channel for more stories like this, and thank you so much for watching this video till the end.